I've seen the premiere.
Excellent.
What are your takeaways from both the premiere as a whole and sort of where you're looking to go? Because your character, or
yes, my actual persona,
your actual
yes, I'm playing myself.
Person, yes, is working sort of a lot more behind the scenes.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself going, and where are you helping drive the team as a whole that is going to be seen more so in episodes to come?
Yes, we have a big cast. There's 10 of us. And I think, this started to a little bit introduce my story. You'll get to meet my family, my husband, see a little bit into our home, and get a little bit of my background story. And then that will start to develop more as the series continues. You'll start to delve into more of the inner workings of my background, where I'm from, what has driven my business. So you'll start to see a little more as we go along.
What can you sort of share with us now, based on just sort of your background and where you came from and what brought you to your team now?
Great question. So I was born and bred in a very small town called Madrid, Maine, and moved out to Southern California. I went to undergrad in Boston, applied to Harvard Business School straight out of undergrad, was waitlisted, moved to California with my then boyfriend, now husband, of 11 years, worked in luxury real estate from 2007 on, so 10 years now, trained under John. So he introduced me to the industry and trained me, and then 2008 the crash happened. And now I have an office in Newport, Rhode Island, and an office in Newport Beach. So
what are some of the differences that you see? Because the show is based in Newport Beach, but then
right.
What divides do you find in sort of the East Coast, West Coast differences?
It's interesting. I think that what we're seeing is in terms of who the buyers are. So in California, we have the surge of Chinese money coming in because we're seeing a tech boom from the Chinese markets. We're seeing a lot of money come in from virtual reality. We're seeing money come in from autonomous cars, from different tech sectors, and really, the Chinese right now are leading a lot of the finance that's influencing technology. Whereas we used to see that in Northern California, in the Silicon Valley. Those were a lot of the really wealthy buyers, and now we're seeing that come from overseas, which is a switch in the last decade. So I think that's something we see more in the West Coast than we do on the East Coast. East Coast, we're seeing, a lot of the buyers are domestic, a lot of the buyers are local, so it is a little bit of an interesting switch there. New York City is probably more of a global market, but Newport, Rhode Island, mostly domestic buyers.
Sure, and so you talked about obviously training under John.
Yes.
In at least the pilot for the show, the McCollough team is sort of put forth as this, I don't want to say necessarily villainous in it.
Yes,
but
villainous would be a good word.
Very much so that they are part of the team that you're obviously fighting against.
Yes.
And at least in the pilot, they're winning some of the battles. It would appear to viewers.
We'll see. Yeah.
So what are some of the victories that you've had over the McCollough team in the past that...
I think you'll see. We win a lot of listings during the show, and I think that our reputation in town also precedes us. I think that our team is very different in how we came together. So Religan's group is 5 top agents, not 1 top agent and assistants. I think one of the downfalls of developing a team the way that John has is it's John McCollough, and then he has people that work for him. And so when you are listing your house and you want to work with the McCollough group, you want to work with John. And he can't be everything to everyone. And I think that's something that has been to his detriment in the past. So what we've done is we've taken 5 top brokers who are leaders in their specific markets. Myself, I do a lot of waterfront. My husband races yachts, so waterfront is where I've honed my skills. I work with the Coastal Commission, I work with dock fittings, I work with depth of, whether you can fit a vessel in, things like that are a specialized skill. Casey works more in Newport Heights and family areas, in the golf community of Bay Canyon. Spiro does a lot of Newport Coast. JoJo is the Queen of Irvine. Elisa does CDM. And so when somebody works with one of us, you're getting a top agent. When they work with one of John's subordinates or minions, they're getting somebody who is, still really learning the business. And I think that that's something you'll really see a difference between us and John.
Sure. You're not reporting up to somebody.
Correct. But it does add some drama in terms of, with John, it's John McCollough. Who's the boss? John. When it's Team Relegance, every one of us you interview will all say we run the team and we're the boss. So you have 5 alphas, so you'll see that play out on camera. Mm-hmm. It's a different dynamic, and it presents its own challenges.
Studying under John, though, who's been in the industry for quite a while
Yes.
in that neighborhood. What's some of the things that you did learn from John that now you can sort of reappropriate?
It was a brilliant education, and John taught me many things. And the advice that I'd give to somebody who's getting into real estate, or really any industry, is find someone who's doing it the best. And at the time, this was 2007, John was the best in the country. And so I immediately, as soon as I got my license, signed up for a training program, a 30-day luxury, truly an internship, where he, apprentice style, chose one of us to come and work as part of his team. It was a dream opportunity. I became the runner-up, and I think always felt like I had something to prove. But things I learned from John were marketing, is that find out who your buyer is, and really sort of tailor your marketing to who that is. So if we're looking at buyers from overseas, then we're not using our traditional outlets of YouTube or Vimeo. We have to translate all of our videos, our listings into Mandarin. And then another example is one of his signature tricks was any listing over 5 million, 10 million has a name. In Newport, Rhode Island, we actually have a celebrity that we'll be able to announce fairly soon from California who's buying a property in Newport, Rhode Island. But you name the property. It sounds much more prestigious if it's the Cristal de la Mer, or the Farnsworth Estate, or the Four Winds Palace. You want to have something that feels like it's truly a one of a kind trophy.
And have you started doing that at all with your properties?
Always. That I took from John. There's a lot of things that I said, I can't do that in my business. That's not how I would practice. But there's certainly a lot of things. He did a lot of things right for a long time, but when the market went down, I think, some decisions, and it's easy to be, critical when you are not in it, when it's easy to watch and criticize somebody who's gone through that. But, I think there's a lot of things to take away from John's success, but also his failures. And so watching that from my perspective, it's been very educational.
Sure. And so in coming to the Relegance group then, what about the team now? I mean, I know you mentioned sort of each person being their own figurehead, but how as a team are you sort of working to sort of, beat the rap of McMonagall?
McMonagall. I think that Orange County, because it is such a small town, it's very different than LA, it's very different than New York. The real estate, I think, is going to really be so exciting for viewers to watch. We have this coastal Orange County, which is just this quintessential luxury California Riviera. And you're going to see all this beautiful, beautiful property right on the ocean front. And then in terms of the way that our team works is we're family. We're very different than John. We're not just people who are reporting to our boss. And there is some, when there's people who are heads, when you have 5 leaders, you definitely clash. But I think it also makes us, in the end, better. Someone can bring, Spiro gives me an idea or collaborates with me on something, and maybe we disagree and there's a bit of a headbutt, but in the end, our clients benefit because we're not being told what to do by one person. We're collaborating, and we have, a collective. I mean, Spiro's like 100, so we have a couple 100 years of experience if you add us all up. So I think that definitely gives us a winning advantage.
Sure. And one of the things I always like to ask people in the real estate industry is, part of your job is sort of selling every taste of every kind of home, but what are some of your personal tastes?
That's a great question. So I love that. You always have to, your clients, it's their money, and we advise them on what is the best financial decision. But at the end of the day, this isn't a stock. This isn't just a commodity. It's also a home. For me personally, born and bred on the East Coast, I'm a Mainer, and I spent my summers on Cape Cod. I love the traditional Eastern Seaboard. I love a shiplap, I love shingle, I love a traditional Cape Cod, Nantucket house. And so for me, gambrel roof, that's my dream. And it's really become popular now too. 10 years ago, it was this faux Tuscan in Orange County, and now it's so funny. John, I think even in the first episode, he says, "Oh yeah, I'm not really a modern guy anymore, more of a Cape Cod." I was like, "Have you ever been to Cape Cod?" But so I think it's really become, I would say, that's the most on-trend design that we're seeing in Orange County right now, is they call it the Cape Cod or Eastern Seaboard style.
And then are there any properties or listings in your portfolio that you're especially looking to talk about?
Let's see, what do we have right now that would be fun to... I have an East Coast listing, the Inchiquin Estate, which was built in the 1700s. It's a beautiful 3-story home with a pool overlooking the ocean by Bailey's Beach in Newport, Rhode Island. And we're selling the carriage house. So it's a Gilded Age mansion, and I think it's a lot of our clients are bi-coastal. They have businesses in New York, they have businesses in LA, and so having the opportunity to be able to work on both coasts, and you have the best of both worlds. It's a 5-hour flight. It seems like it would be challenging, but it's really not that.
And what did you say the name of it was?
It's the Inchiquin Estate.
Is this another one of your named?
Yeah, well, so I didn't name this one. This one came with a name. Newport.
Oh, okay.
I think John stole his Gilded Age, naming of properties from the Astors and the Vanderbilts.
There you go.
We have the Breakers home. So this is the Inchiquin Estate, and it's the carriage house. It's listed for $1.6 million. Ocean view, stunning estate being shown now. Call me up.
Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
My pleasure.